But it's always like rich people that are protesting. And people only protest in nice weather too. That's how you know it's like bullshit. Poor people don't protest.
No, no,
They have to work.
no.
You can't like call into your job and be like, hey, I'm actually going to go to this protest today. Like, oh, I guess you don't work here anymore.
Let's go.
Welcome to Citizen. We got a special guest today, Adrienne Iapalucci. I just learned how to say your name 3 seconds ago.
You did great.
Thanks. Doing my best. So let's start with you. Where did you grow up?
I lived in the Bronx my whole life. I'm still here, native New Yorker.
Yeah. No plans on bailing or anything? A lot of people have left.
I know. I'm gonna go to Austin for a couple months next year during the winter, like maybe January, February, March, and my place. And
What's your plan there? Just to be, I mean, there's a lot of comedy here now, I guess.
there's a lot of comedy there. And Ari Shafir, who produced my special, keeps telling me to go there. So I was like, all right, I'll go there for a couple months. I like it. I could never do the summer there though. It's crazy. It's so
Yeah,
hot.
it's hot as fuck here in the summertime.
You're flying roaches or whatever they are. I just can't.
Oh, those are. Oh, wait, what is it?
Cicadas or
Cicadas.
something?
Yeah, it's only like once every. Like, I think there's one group that's once every 7 years or something, and another group that's every other year, and they happened to meet
don't know.
this past summer, so it was like both groups.
Yeah,
at
I
the
saw
same
them this
time.
summer. They were everywhere, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm out."
Yeah, it's gross. I mean, it's just like.
I'd rather deal with the rats in New York City than those things. They don't fly.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, you can just stand on something, I guess, unless they're learning to climb. What's the evolution of rats going like?
I don't really see rats in the Bronx. They're usually in Manhattan. The trash is.
So what was it like growing up in the Bronx?
I mean, it was fun. Outside every night playing late. Everyone's parents screaming at them. I had a good childhood. I mean, I thought I did anyway. My therapist disagrees, but growing up in the Bronx was fun.
When you say fun outside, what's it like? Because I know for my male friends that grew up in those areas, there's stickball, there's popping a hydrant during the summertime when it gets hot. Because
Baseball.
people don't realize how fucking humid it gets in the city up there. It's
It's
dank.
gross.
It's like 96 and 80% humidity all summer.
It's pretty gross, but it's not as gross as Austin.
No, it's not really. It's not terribly. It's only humid here during hurricane season mostly, like the very beginning of or the end of spring when it starts to get hot. But the summer is brutal. It's like 100 degrees every day.
When I was there last year, it was 105 degrees for like a week.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah.
like,
No, we had
you feel like you're in an oven.
I think it was 51 straight days of 100 degrees, something like that. It's like, damn, all
Yeah.
right, cool. Maybe Al Gore was onto something. But
Yeah, the summer's supposed to be brutal too. For a couple months, it's really, really hot.
it's just so sticky there. Like you can't. As soon as you walk outside, you stay. Even like when it's 100 degrees out here, I'll walk outside and it's uncomfortably hot, but I don't immediately start sweating. And I grew up in South Carolina, and it's about the same as New York when it comes to temperature in the summer. It's like
Yeah.
90 to 100 degrees, and it's humid as shit the whole time. It's like as soon as you walk outside, there's a light coat of sweat on you at all times.
I mean, I don't take the train, so I feel like I'm blessed in that sense. I'm not dealing like that just adds an extra layer of hell to your life.
You don't take the train. Is it because of Jordan Neely, or is there some other reason?
Where I grew up, the train wasn't really that close. We always had cars, even though they were like nice cars. My dad used to always get tired of whatever gross car he had and decide to paint it, and then he'd stop midway. So we had that kind of car growing up, where it's like two different colors, and one's not even one's the primer color.
Yeah.
But we just always had cars. I don't even now. I'd probably have to walk like 15 minutes to the train, and then it's like 32 stops to the village. So I've just always had a car.
And how did you get into comedy?
My mom was doing it a bit when I was younger, and she would like start and stop, and then I guess I had just graduated from college, and I was like thinking of going to law school, but I wanted to be on SNL because I was always like very outgoing as a kid, and then my mom was like, well, you have to do stand up, so she brought me to an open mic at the time in Brooklyn, and then I just kept doing it.
And what club? What was your home club? I guess when you kind of really got into it.
Probably the Stand Comedy Club.
You
Um,
still perform there on a pretty regular basis?
yeah, that's one of my clubs I go to a lot. Be there tonight.
Um, yeah, let's see. Oh, you're with Paul Verzi tonight. I love Paul. Very funny.
Oh, I just saw him last night. He's great.
Yeah, he's a fun guy. And then Rocky Dale
Fun.
Davis tonight as well is on that one. He
Hmm.
is a weirdo. I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah, I like him. He's a cool guy.
Yeah.
Very funny.
He's 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 very crass, but not offensively so. I think maybe I don't know if it's the Southern thing that makes it not as offensive. I don't know. I always uh, he gets away with saying a lot of fucked up shit, and not
Oh,
like offensive
yeah.
necessarily, but like really gross stuff. And I think that's fun. How would you describe your comedy style? Like what do you are you a storyteller?
Somewhat deadpan. It's definitely dark comedy. That's why Ari calls me the Dark Queen.
Mm-hmm.
But and it's weird because like I'm not trying to do anything. That's just kind of how I grew up. Everyone that I'm friends with that I grew up with, they all have the same sense of humor. It's just kind of, I don't know, kind of how we grew up. Maybe you,
What do you mean by that?
I mean, the subjects that I'm talking about are pretty dark. 9/11, all the wars that are going on. I date a lot of guys with PTSD. Um, talking about the Middle East and Ukraine, school shootings. So it's just dark content. I guess
Yeah.
that's just what you're drawn towards. And some political stuff, I guess, a bit.
Um, yeah, it's well, I was in the military, so dark humor is kind of the only version of
Right.
humor that we understand. You know what I mean?
Sure. I date a lot of military guys.
Yeah, if you try to tell knock knock jokes to us, we're like, oh yeah, did you hear about a pile of dead babies and whatever? It's like
Sure.
it's always some kind of fucked up shit. Um, why do you think you're attracted to military dudes? Is it
I think they're
because you're already
attracted.
fucked
I
in the
think they're
head?
attracted to me.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily attract. I think we just have like this magnetic, um, like pull towards each other, but it's probably not good.
Well, look, what are you gonna do, right?
I guess.
Life is
I'm
complicated
not dating
sometimes.
anymore.
Uh,
Military guy.
yeah, well, that might not be the worst idea. Um, uh, so you went through this period. I guess you weren't. Yes, like a lot of my friends who were younger comics, and I mean like in their early 20s, went through this period with all the COVID stuff, and it kind of all this stuff happened at one time. COVID stuff, lockdowns, and then that was kind of on the tail end of a couple of very PC movements, which tried to wedge their way into comedy. And we've talked about this a lot over the years on the show, but comedy's always been one of the stalwarts against tyranny, right? Like if you think about even Shakespeare as a playwright, it's always been very subversive, intentionally so, right? To kind of put goofy nonsense on display. And I guess you could take it all the way back to the Emperor's New Clothes, right? I mean, that's a
Mhm.
comedy about how everybody can tell this dude's full of shit, but they're too afraid to say anything about it.
Sure.
And I do think, in a large way, not just people like Rogan and Ari and so on, fucking Giannis Pot. A lot of people stayed out there on the stump, just continuing to do crazy jokes without caring about the consequences. Chappelle was another one. And I think that created a wake that people could swim in to get out of some of this stuff. Did you have that
Hmm.
sense during the time? I mean, was there pressure in the early parts of this stupid bullshit to change your act up or anything?
Not really, because I was just always doing what I've done. I was never like scared of getting canceled. Like my friend Liz Mealy always is like, "What are you going to take away from me?" Like I have roommates. Like you can't really take something from someone if I don't know. I think in today's culture, like everyone has their own fan base, so it's really hard to cancel people. Like even I was with Ari when he did the Kobe thing. I didn't even know he didn't like Kobe. Like I know it's not really about him, it's about the Lakers.
Mm.
So like he went to his room. I woke up. I took a nap and I woke up and I was like, "What did you just do?" And he was filming a special a week later, and that like got moved back, till after the pandemic. So like, even when I talk to Ari, he's just like, yeah, I don't regret it.
I can't see him. Well, the only thing he probably regrets is trying to drink with Shane Gillis, which I think any normal human being would regret.
Yeah,
Um,
you're gonna
yeah,
lose.
you can't look at it like a doughy faced white man from Pennsylvania and think you're going to drink more than him. It's just not how life works.
Yeah, Ari can't drink more than him. But like, I don't know. I've never really cared so much about like getting canceled or the woke culture. Like, I'm just gonna do the jokes I want. Whoever's drawn to me will follow me or, be my fan. So that's not something I struggled with, but it's interesting in trying to promote my special there. We've gone to like media on both the right and the left will just not have me on. Um, and they won't really say why, they'll just pass. I know NPR was gonna have me on, and then they were like, hey, we're gonna pass. So I don't know if they like watched my special and they thought it wasn't, because I'm going after both sides in
Mm.
it. So I guess I've met people where they're like, I don't know if you're on my side, and that's it's a weird place to be where it's like I have to agree with everything you say. So I didn't even vote, but like it's just weird that people are like, well, I don't know if you're on my side, so I can't like if you don't align with me, I'm not going to have you on my show or
Hmm.
whatever.
When did that start, do you think? For you, at least.
I think it probably started with like Trump. I think there was a bigger divide. I think people started like picking sides, and I don't know, as a comic, I'm just going for whatever I think is funny.
But what's that got to do with comedy, right? Like if I'm eating a hamburger, like, man, this shit's good. And I found out, oh, damn, a fucking liberal made my hamburger. Fuck this shit and throw it away. You have to be retarded to
Right.
even think that way. That's the
Sure.
lowest. That is the lowest form of thought, I think. Right? It's just tribalism.
Absolutely. I don't care. I just want to do jokes and I want to promote my special, and I don't really care who you voted for.
Just the completely out of context tribalism is something that I can't wrap my mind around in any way.
I also think both extremes are extreme and awful, both the right
Mm.
and the left. On either extreme is both awful.
Yeah, I just don't see what any of that has to do with whether or not a joke is funny. Um,
I think people just listen, I've done shows in both places where like I've walked the right and I've walked the left. I did a show in Houston where I walked like 20 cowboys. They were just upset. I
what
did a
was
joke about the military.
what was it?
Something about how we don't actually care about the military. We don't treat them well.
Well, that's a
And
kind of a fact, isn't it?
right, but they were mad. They got up and left. And what's funny is there's another military guy there at the end who was like, "You're actually pretty correct." So it's like both. I've walked people on Ukraine jokes, the Middle East. So it's like I don't know. I just want to do jokes that are funny that I think are good, and I don't know.
Yeah, that seems like a reasonable thing for a comedian.
Sure. I mean, but people do take sometimes, not all the time, but people will take what you're saying as like an actual fact. And it's weird because it's like, well, there is context. We are at a comedy show.
Hmm.
But I don't know if you want to get upset by jokes, that's your right, I guess. Go walk out.
I guess. There's kind of a long history of this, though. It's not like something new that just popped up. I mean,
Sure.
Don Rickles has been around for a while. George Carlin said a few offensive things in his day, if I recall. Even in
Sure.
the modern day, there's plenty of guys out there who are they pri- their their primary joke style is to lead you down a road and then drop something fucked up on you at the end, like Jeselnik or your comedy's a lot like that. It's not uncommon. It's so odd to me that people show up. It used to be that a magic show is the one thing, the one form of entertainment people would show up to trying to fuck up the show. Like I want to figure out how he's trying to trick me, right? It's just, I
Mhm.
guess, and to some degree, it's institutional because you're being deceived on purpose. So your brain's like, well, I'm going to figure this out. But at a comedy show, I really don't get it, man. It's like, oh, it's only been for the last like 7, 8 years, I think. People show up to the, and we host a lot of comedy shows. We go to a lot of comedy shows here in Austin, and there was a period there from, let's say, 2021 to 2022, that both of those full years here in Austin, Every comedy show I went to, there was one angry white lady in the crowd. It's
It's
like,
always a white
why
lady.
did you come, you stupid bitch? What are you doing here? Go fucking go protest or something. Do something else. Why are you trying to
Yeah,
come
go
here and
do
ruin
something
everybody's
else.
good time?
I mean, sometimes I'll say to a crowd, I'm like, hey, comedy's not for everyone, and some of you shouldn't come back. Like some of you should have went bowling. That would have probably been better for you.
I don't know about bowling. I'd stick in your fingers in holes that other people have stuck their fingers in. See, my
I
parents
love
told me not to
bowling.
do it.
You're not gonna change my mind. I love to
What's it?
bowl.
What is it about
I'm not
bowling?
even good at it. I think it's just fun. I'm
What
not
about
good at it.
have you done that one where it's the pins are like tied to cables or whatever, and it's a smaller ball and you just chuck it at the
I
things?
have done that.
I
Yeah.
don't know what it's called, but that's all right, I guess.
I think it's pinball.
Spin ball, yeah, maybe.
Pinball, I think.
Bowling.
I like regular bowling.
I think I
So,
might be too clumsy to bowl. That might be my problem. So I always like
uh, you're
hurt
just not
myself.
practicing enough. I believe in you. I think
No, no, don't believe in
you
me.
could do it.
I don't. I can't, and I won't either. So there's no
Wow.
point in trying to
Well,
motivate
here we
me.
go. Here's the great divide starting already.
Yeah, gonna walk
You're
out
bowl.
because of your bowling stance. But that's how stupid it is. Like if you laugh about everything up until the point where something offends you, you're a fucking cunt, man. That's the you
Yeah.
that's about the weakest life form that exists is somebody whose perspective is such that they can't laugh at themselves, right? Like, how do you even get through life
Sure.
like that? Because life is fucked up. A lot of weird shit's gonna happen. You're gonna do dumb shit
Mhm.
on purpose and on accident, and you're gonna have to live with it. And how are you gonna live with it if you can't laugh at yourself?
I mean, I feel bad for people like that. I'm just glad that's not my life. I can't imagine coming to a comedy show and getting upset about something. I mean, listen, if you're going after someone specific, that's a little bit different. And I don't really do crowd work
Mm.
unless somebody starts talking to me. Um, but yeah, unless you're saying something specific to somebody, it's kind of a weird thing to do, to get upset. And I don't even mind if you get upset and you leave. It's the people that like get upset and then they want to start like make a show out of it because they want you to know they're upset. It's like, just go.
Yeah, it's not an airport. You don't have to announce your departure.
No, just leave.
Yeah,
Just
fair
go.
enough. That's still an odd choice, though. I mean, just statistically, if the show was funny up until that point and then you get mad, it's probably going to get funny again. The person's not just only going to talk about one thing that made you mad,
Sure.
right? I don't know. I don't know. That just seems really weird to me. So, are you a sports fan? How's it like being a New York sports fan right now?
Did the screen get really dark for you or is it just dark for me?
No, I think it's just for you. It looks fine on mine.
Okay, that's fine then. I mean, I like the New York sports teams. I like the Yankees, but I can't tell you any of the players. It's just because I grew up a Yankees fan because my dad was. I like sports. I would go to a baseball game. I've gone to some hockey games. I like basketball. I remember me and my friend tried to get Knicks tickets last year and it was just so expensive and we were
Oh,
like,
it's
forget it.
crazy now. Yeah, I mean they're good now, so it's good luck
They
getting
are good
fucking
now. So,
tickets.
right. It was like where we wanted to sit. It was also during like the playoffs, I guess, but it was
Mm.
like 10 grand. I was like, forget that. 10
Um,
grand.
10. I'm sorry for all of the seats or per seat.
It was for like the playoffs or something,
Oh,
but
okay,
it
I
was
see.
for, like a certain area that was good. I think $1,000 was like all the way in the back.
Good God, man, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, we ended up not going.
Yeah, obviously, fuck that. That's more than Super Bowl tickets.
It was so expensive, but we wanted to go, and I was like, forget that. That's nuts.
Oh boy, yeah, I can't do that. I mean, we own a ticket company, so we get really good deals on tickets and shit. But
Nice. I'm glad you told me that. Now I'm
yeah,
gonna reach out.
yeah, for sure. We like going to so we have to go to a lot of stuff because I mean we have a sports show,
Makes
we
sense.
have a booze product, we have a lot of licensing deals with universities and stuff, so we go to a lot of college football games. I don't give two fucks about football. You know
What
what I
is
mean?
your sport that you like?
I like baseball. It's my favorite.
Who's your team?
The Braves, Atlanta, which is we're rivals, I guess. Not really so much anymore, but in the
Growing up, I had a boyfriend that was a big Braves fan.
what time? What year are you talking about?
96,
Oh yeah,
97.
that was
That's when they lost to the Yankees. That was such a good year. He
it.
was so upset.
It was 96 and 98, right? Or 90, yeah, 98. Because 99 was the Subway Series, I think. Or was that 2000? Shit, I don't remember now.
I don't remember. I just
Yeah.
remember he was so mad that year.
Yeah, we fucked that up pretty good. Went up 2-0, and then, Yankees did Yankee stuff. So why do you think you gravitate towards the darker end of comedy? Is that just like the personality or
I just think it's how I grew up and how all my friends are. Like I had a friend from grammar school that, killed himself about 10 years ago. And I seen a lot of these people from grammar school I hadn't seen for so long. And we all went out after to eat and everyone's sense of humor is so dark. And you're like, oh, that's where this
mm,
happened. It's just how I grew up. It's like the people I was hanging out with. Even my family kind of has a dark sense of humor too. So you just growing up around that, you just kind of fall into it, I think.
yeah, that's funny. What I like to ask comedians this. What is your motivation when you're up there? It's like some people like Ari just wants to make himself laugh. I think that's he. I never got that answer out of him, but
Mhm.
the way he described it to me and the way I see him on stage, I just feel like he's just trying to fuck with people and make himself laugh. You ever thought about that? Like, what is it for you?
I just think it's stuff that I find funny, and I also want people to laugh. But if you're upset by it, that's also like your choice. It's just things that I find funny. I guess it would be almost like that, like stuff I want that makes me laugh, stuff that I think's funny. I don't know.
Yeah, that's always been mine. Like it's I don't I the external valid like a lot of comedians, a lot of actors, a lot of musicians, entertainers in general. It's primarily some kind of external motivation. Like they like the attention, they like the applause, they like the booze. Maybe sometimes, right? Some people like getting
Sure.
some people just like upsetting other people, which is really funny to me. But for me, it's always just like the hardest I laugh is at one of my own dumb jokes, and I don't know if that's some kind of ego thing or I really don't know what that is.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even necessarily love being on stage, but I do like telling jokes. There's some comics that like love being on stage,
Mm,
and even last night I was watching Paul Verzi, and like he's so comfortable on
mm.
stage, and he walks back and forth, and that's just not me. I'm like a bit uncomfortable sometimes. I'm actually surprised I'm doing this, to be honest.
Yeah, that Rife kid seems to enjoy the attention as well. His comedy is okay, I guess, but the crowd work is pretty good. He's very sharp.
He's good at crowd work.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if I've seen anybody do a full hour show of just crowd work before, to be honest.
I think there's a lot of people that are great at crowd work.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of people who are great. Like Steve Byrne is a buddy of mine. He's fucking really good at it. And sometimes I don't know. I've seen him at a couple of really small venues over the years,
Mhm.
maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. And he's got some of his old canned jokes that he'll open and close with, and then he'll just like light people up. Especially if you're in a small town at a comedy club, there's probably a lot
Everyone
of
can
drunk
do
dummies
that.
there, right?
I'm sure, yeah. Also, a lot of the people, sometimes if you're in a small town, they all kind of know each other, I think.
Mm,
So then they really just want you to rip on
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah. That's I never thought about that. That's a good point. Yeah, there's a lot of good people that do good crowd work out there. That's not really your bag. You're more reserved. You,
It's not like I can do it. It's
mm,
just like I'm like a lot of comics I think are looking for these crowd work clips so they could go viral on
mm.
social media. That's not my motivation. If it happens organically, I'll do it. But I'm not looking for crowd work clips.
What are you looking for?
I just want to tell my jokes. I want to tell my jokes. I want people to have a good time. I don't know.
And,
I feel like we're at a comedy show, so everything I say you should know is a joke. So
mm,
getting upset by stuff is wild to me.
yeah.
I remember one time I was at the cellar. This is many years ago, maybe 2018, and I'd done some school shooting joke, and like it was a problem. Like this girl got kicked out, then she was waiting for me outside. The cops came. It's like so crazy to be upset over a joke, and she wanted to stay to tell me that she thought I had potential and that like she was trying to get me to stop doing that joke. And I was like,
Mm.
I'm not going to stop. You're just wasting your time.
Oh, is she a talent scout or something? Like who the fuck?
No, she's just an audience
Get the
member.
fuck out of here, man.
She's an audience member that wanted to stay and talk to me about it. And I mean, that's the first time that's ever happened. Listen, people have walked out or gotten kicked out. They're upset, but I never had somebody stay with their whole party and try and like convince me to stop. I mean, what a waste of time for her.
Yeah, that's really dumb. You know what's one of my favorite shows that I've ever personally been to was, I don't remember what year it was. It would have been like 2013 or 14 maybe, in San Francisco at Cobb's. And it was Norm Macdonald and Todd Barry and some other local dick. I can't remember what it was.
Mm.
The local guy does his thing. Todd Barry does his thing, which is Todd Barry's fucking the hit. It's dead. The deadpan from
Great crowd
him.
work.
It's so
I
good,
think he
man.
put out a crowd work special.
He may have actually. Now that I think about it, he may have. He was he talked a lot of shit. Like he mostly just talked shit to the crowd the whole time, and then Norm comes out the way he always does. And this is like I think it's 2014 in San Francisco, and he just does nothing but trans jokes the whole time. The
Okay.
entire set. He's just like saying fucked up shit about trans people, and I'm a bearded white man, right? I look like
Sure.
this, and I'm laughing
Hmm.
my ass off because I don't. I mean, what do I care? I don't give a fuck. But there's a lot of tight buttholes in that audience at that time.
Oh
There's
yeah.
a lot of dudes with their fucking liberal girlfriends who don't know if they're allowed to laugh or not. And
Mhm.
it seemed like the more awkward it got, the more energy he got. It's some kind of weird energy vampire situation with Norm. It was rather.
Yeah, I felt that too. Like if I upset a crowd, and I'll just keep going. Like I'm not gonna turn away from it. I'll just lean into it harder. And
Oh
San
my
Francisco
god.
can be pretty woke.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in
I've
2014,
had
15,
great shows
it
there,
was
and I've
pretty
had
rough.
some fucked up shows there.
Uh, yeah. What? Tell me about a great show you had there. Like, what was the subject matter?
I think I was just running my hour for the special last year, so I
Hmm.
was, I don't have like a huge following, so if you come out to my shows, it's a mixed bag. There's some people that know me, there's some people that don't know me. Maybe someone got free tickets, so if you don't know me and you don't like what I do, you're going to be upset by it. And I've run into that, especially last year, just running this hour.
Mm.
But I had people that were like definitely upset by it. But I also had people that like I remember I think the Thursday night show, usually the nights that are not the weekend are the best. It's when like fans come out. But like a Saturday early night show is the worst show all the
Yeah, I
time.
bet. I
Just
bet.
people who are there for date night, people who got free tickets or whatever it is. It's just usually the worst show every weekend.
I wonder if so Netflix is starting to pick up a lot of stuff. They got, I mean, so many shows now, comedy wise. But they've also done a couple of things to help certain industries. So that I guess that kind of documentary style show Wrexham that Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney do really popularized soccer in America again. And then they did one on F1 racing, and then F1 racing saw a huge boom. They signed like a 10-year deal in Vegas to have an F1 race through downtown Vegas. I wonder if anybody's talking to Netflix about doing a documentary on the process of making an hour-long comedy special. Because I think if the ordinary person knew that, they would know that they're in the early part of that process when they come to your comedy show. It's almost like they're watching batting practice to some degree. Like not everything is tuned up yet. I'm going to make some
No,
mistakes here.
definitely not.
You know what I mean? Tell,
I'm going on the road soon too, and I have like a bunch of new material, but I'm also working on stuff too.
mm,
So but I do think if you have a following, your fans kind of give you the benefit of the doubt.
mm,
But yeah, Netflix also, do you remember when the Queen, was it the Queen's Gambit came out and then everyone
mm,
started buying
yeah.
chessboards and stuff? It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is. I think somebody should do that. I think somebody should like find 5 or 6 comedians who are getting ready to start the process of building an hour and just send a producer to follow them around and record everything, take notes and shit like that, and then compile it together. I think it would be very enlightening for people to be like, to understand that, well, this woman woke up at 2 p.m. and sat around for a while, fucking laid in bed and laughed at
Mhm.
stupid shit to herself and wrote it down, and then said it in front of other people like, oh, that wasn't as funny as I thought. But here's how I can make it
Sure.
funnier. Or that's
Mhm.
people don't understand what I'm saying and it sounds offensive for no reason. So if I punch it up a little bit, now it sounds good. I don't think people understand the whole fucking process that goes into making a solid hour worth of material. I mean, it takes
Sure.
fucking forever to do that.
Yeah, it takes a long time. And then sometimes too, when you write those jokes, you're like, you almost feel sad to not be doing them anymore.
Yeah.
Losing your children.
Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting take. I wonder, if somebody might do something like that, because I really do think it would be beneficial to the industry. In the end, like comedy is it stand-up comedy is on an upswing like I don't think I've ever seen before, to be honest. Like it kind of like this. It used to be because you mentioned it at the outset of the show here. There used to be this like I'm going to be a stand-up comic, and then I'm going to go on SNL, or I'm going to get a sitcom or a UCB or something like that. I'm going to go somewhere right after that. There was like a pathway. That's not really a thing anymore. Like there are no sitcoms.
No, there's really no
For,
sitcoms at
for, for
all.
people that actually do real stand-up comedy, there's no sitcom waiting on you. Sitcoms are like all like extremely vanilla scripted nonsense with laugh tracks now.
Right.
So that's not going to happen. But well, I guess Shane did one on Netflix. I guess you could call Tires a sitcom, but it's very rare these days. And then there isn't really, and maybe it'll come back. I don't know, but there isn't really an outlet for sketch comedy on in any kind of major network situation anymore, right? Like Mad
I mean, I guess
TV.
if you consider SNL,
Sure,
it's
yeah,
yeah.
but they're not like doing anything risky anymore.
No, no, no. It's all very vanilla for the most part. I
Yeah.
haven't watched SNL in so long. I think the last time I watched it might have been when Shane did it.
Yeah, probably the same. I don't even know if I watched the whole thing. I fast forwarded to the parts where he was in it and then skipped through
Yeah.
the rest. It's
Weekend Update's pretty good, but other than that, usually I don't watch it.
I do like Weekend Update. I especially like the part where they write racist jokes for each other.
Yeah.
That might be the best thing on that show right now. Actually, that's consistently on the show.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's man, it's hard to get into it. It's hard to like. I don't think anybody wants to show up to a comedy show and get lectured on how they should live their lives. To be honest, it's like take a fair,
Sure.
like don't not even fair. Just make fun of everything you can possibly make fun of, right? Because everything's ridiculous.
Sure.
Even if you're the biggest Trump fan in the world, you have to understand and be honest with yourself that he is a ridiculous human being, right? Like he's a caricature in real life. He's walking around with that haircut. You know what I mean? Saying the wild ass shit that he's saying. It's like that is a caricature of a human being. How can that even be real? So that's like a character that you would actually make up for something like Saturday Night Live, and he's right there in real life. You got to be able to enjoy that and make fun of it a little bit, even if you like the guy.
Yeah, if you can't see how your party is a bit ridiculous and what the problems are, it's like what a crazy person to have like no insight to what's actually happening.
That's weird. I mean, usually um, a lack of irony is one of the hallmarks of fundamentalism. You know what I mean?
I did a joke last night and this lady didn't understand it and she screamed out at me.
To like
She's like,
explain the joke, or what did she want?
she didn't understand. Like I was talking about January 6th, when everything was happening with the election, how they were worried that was going to happen again. And when January 6th initially happened, they were like making the comparison of it to the Holocaust. And I was like, that's like very disrespectful to the Germans because like they would have actually taken it over. And she was just like, what? How is that disrespectful to like she didn't understand like the satire in it. So I stopped the show and had to explain it to her.
Did you sit down Indian style, like
No,
and
I
just
didn't, but it's the first time I've ever had to explain that to somebody because she was just like, what? And she was like, a white lady. She was nice, but she
yeah?
had like a shawl over her. And she's from North
What do
Carolina,
you mean
but
she
it
had
was
a
just like,
shawl over? What is she like, some Polish immigrant or something?
I don't know. She had like, she was draped in whatever bullshit she probably got in the village that day, just over her shoulders.
Oh boy.
She was very
Um,
precious.
uh,
She was nice. She just really didn't understand it.
so she didn't understand that which part that what the Holocaust was, how the Germans were
She was like,
involved, or
how is that disrespectful to the Germans? Like she didn't understand that part.
man, that's tough. So what do you do in that situation? I mean, it's kind of funny to sit there and explain it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I explained it a bit and then I just did the joke, but it was weird. But it's also like, just keep it to yourself. Ask your husband that you're with.
At home though, wait until you're home to ask.
Even if you whispered in his ear, it's better than just shouting it out.
Yeah, how much of that do you get? It's like I don't know if it's always been like this or not. Do you feel like the
I think
crowd
because of
interaction
all
is
the
up
crowd
now?
work clips, I think because of all the crowd work clips, the audiences are talking more and more. And some of it is they see that on social media. They think that they're helping you. I think that audience participation has gone through the roof. I'm not a fan of it. But I know people who've gotten really big off just putting, these viral clips online. But I think the audience thinks like they're helping you and they want to be part of the show now.
Yeah. What's your process for this stuff? Do you have somebody film all your shows and you go back and watch them to see where the laughs are? How do you handle that?
I tape my sets on my phone and then I don't listen to them. That's my problem.
That's very
Sometimes I
useful.
will, if like a joke worked and I was like, I want to hear how that went, I'll listen to it so that you figure it out. But a lot of times I'm just taping my set and not listening to it anyway.
Man, I'm reading some reviews of your of the Dark Queen, your latest special.
Oh, what are you on?
Just stuff that's been posted on social media. One of them says, "You are a bad woman. What makes you
Oh
laugh?"
yeah.
What's that?
I think I remember, is this the lady that compared me to Hitler?
Hold on, I haven't gotten there yet. It's like,
Oh, okay.
what makes you laugh about what happened on 710? Um, I think they meant 10/7. This must be
Yeah.
a European person.
Yeah.
Yeah. See that right there, off the bat, don't care what Europe thinks. We've beat them, so we don't have to listen to what they say. But anyways, I assume you made some joke about Israel and Gaza,
Sure.
and they got upset about it. I'm guessing it's either a white woman or a white woman that wrote
It's
this.
always a white woman.
Yeah. What do you think that is? Why are white women so upset?
I don't know. They've like taken this job of being offended on behalf of everyone, which is very arrogant to like take somebody else's offense. Like it's like we're not even going to let you have that.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me.
It is wild. So I was working after I got out of the army. I was working. I was a private contractor for a little bit, and one of the jobs I had was during the Occupy Wall Street stuff. I was doing plainclothes, like armed plainclothes stuff in crowds when we thought there were terrorist threats and stuff.
Mhm.
And I would just, walk around, mind my business, kind of pay attention what's going on, listen to my radio. I remember this one time we were on UC Berkeley's campus, and one of my buddies who was a cop, black dude who grew up in West Oakland, which is the blackest a person can be in America, I think. I don't know. But he grew up there. And there's this kind of barrier, and he and some other dudes are standing on the side of it. And I see this, what must have been a 19-year-old white girl yelling at him and calling him a racist. And
What?
yeah, I don't know, because he was a cop, I
Oh,
guess. And she's just like, "You're a fucking racist." And he and I lock eyes, and I'm like, well, that's imagine talking to a guy who grew up in that area, who's probably actually seen some racism in his life from time to time, and then yelling at him that he's a racist because you're upset about stuff that's happening on Wall Street in New York. That is a
I mean,
very odd way to go about your life.
sure, yeah. I mean, that was a weird. I feel like I might have been doing stand up at that time. Was it like 2004?
No, no, no. That's way later. This is like 2012, I think.
Oh,
Yeah, it was like, remember when all those dipshits lived outside in Zuccotti Park for like 3 months or something?
but that was happening in New York
Yeah, it was
too.
all. There were protests going on all over the country. And
Was it
Berkeley,
Occupy
UC
Wall
Berkeley,
Street?
they protest like if somebody fucking falls and stubs their toe, they're like, "Oh, we got to get somebody for this."
Imagine having that much time and that much free. Like poor people don't protest.
No, no,
We have to work.
yeah,
You can't like call into your job and be like, "Hey, I'm actually going to go to this protest today." It's like, "Oh, I guess you don't work here anymore."
yeah, yeah,
Even
yeah,
your kids.
yeah. So
Like that's
that's
a person's activity.
well, that's a good point though. We just, if Republicans want to stop people from protesting, just make the job market better, I guess.
Well, yeah, I guess so. But it's always like rich people that are protesting, and people only protest in nice weather too. That's how you know it's like bullshit.
Yeah, and then COVID wasn't a problem, right? Like
Or
it's the most deadly disease of all time. We're all going to die, but a crackhead, died. So we've got to go out there and spit in each other's faces.
what a crazy time.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. It's
It
all.
was fun, but like the way they scared the shit out of everyone, it's just like I wish we could have known now what we didn't know back then. Like just staying. I mean, comedy was pretty dead. I was doing comedy on like rooftops and parking lots and stuff.
Did you do a lot of like Zoom podcasts and shit back then?
I had my podcast back then, so I was doing that. I did some Zoom shows. But Zoom shows are not the same. But I think it wasn't a bad way to kind of keep busy as a comic then. But, it's not as good as being like in front of people.
Yeah, they were like even those late night shows where the guests were over Zoom was like
Yeah,
without an audience and stuff. It was like, man, this is bad.
this is terrible.
Somebody a couple years ago, I don't remember when it was exactly, but somebody took the Big Bang Theory and removed all the laugh tracks from it. And I'm sure you could find it on YouTube still. It's not good, right?
I've never liked that show. I find it very
Yeah,
annoying.
it's a terrible show, and it's
It's not for me. I understand it's very popular, but it's just not for me.
well, to me, there's a signal in there. If you have to tell people when to laugh, it's probably not funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that show's never been for me.
Like nobody had to tell the audience for All in the Family when to laugh. As a matter of
Sure.
fact, he was. I watched a clip of him last night talking about I mean, he would talk shit about everybody, but you can see the other characters on set, it's like cracking up, trying not to laugh while he's just fucking lighting everybody up. Those are the good old
Yeah.
days. I really enjoyed that. I think that's something that you mentioned military dudes before, but that is something that I really learned a lot about in the military because I'm a white kid. I grew up in a kind of a black neighborhood for a good bit of my youth. So it was never a thing for me. But when I got to the military, I remember kind of discovering over time the people that we didn't fuck with were people that we weren't particularly close with. But once you became friends with somebody, you just like, it didn't matter what fucked up thing happened to them. They
Hmm.
get shot or blown up or their fucking dad dies or something fucked up. And it's always just like, haha, your dad died or whatever, right? Like the closer you are to somebody, the more you are inclined to make fun of them. And
Sure.
I don't know what that is. It's some kind of defense mechanism for like that.
I think it's a way of dealing with trauma,
Mm,
kind of making jokes.
yeah. And I discovered, especially in some of those tight teams I was in, deployed, the the more stressful things got, the more we fucked with each other, or it
Yeah.
just became like it became a bad situation. Things would boil over. You know what I mean? Like if you're not constantly ripping on each other, you get into real fights. So I think
Yeah.
there's something. It's like a
I
pressure release valve or something.
For sure. I also think just like growing up not really with money, that's kind of how you get through stuff is through humor. I don't know. The poorest people are always usually the most fun. I think that's a way that like kind of my family dealt with stuff too. My mom's funny, my sister's very funny. Like we all just kind of have this like dark, cynical sense of humor.
What's your or is your family Italian?
So I'm Italian and Hungarian.
Interesting. Which side's which?
So my mom's actually half and half, half Italian, half Hungarian,
Mm,
and my biological father is actually mostly Italian, and then I think a little bit of German and Irish, and I just don't claim that part because I
mm.
don't think it's enough.
It's not enough, you said?
I don't think he's German or Irish enough that like it's probably a very small part.
So you don't
So I
feel
could
the need to like annex Poland or anything like that?
um for being Irish and German,
Well, just German, I guess.
I'm not gonna say it. It's like I hate when people say I'm 15 things. It's like what are your
Oh
two
yeah,
biggest?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm like 4% Cherokee. It's like, are you? No one cares.
Well, nobody really is. Everybody thinks. I don't know why every white person thinks they're part Indian, but none of them are. And that's
Even
23andMe
I'm
is
sure
probably collecting a lot of information on us for some nefarious purpose. But I do like the fact that it's exposed a lot of people for not being anything except for just some mutt white European.
I love when people get that done. And they're like, I'm 2%, um, you know, Iranian. It's
Mm.
like nobody cares.
Well, if you're 2% like sub-Saharan African, do you get the N-word pass? Like, how's that work? And who
I'm gonna say
decides?
no. If I can't look at you and think you're black, you're not. You shouldn't have a pass.
What
I
about
think that should be the rule.
what's that?
I think that should be the rule.
Yeah. Well,
If
I
I look
mean,
at
but
you and
who's to say, right? Who looks black and who doesn't? There should be a commission, is all I'm saying.
I feel like there's a color scheme, and if you're at the beginning or end of it, that's the end. And then if you're that way, it's just a no.
So what we need to do is just provide everybody with paint swatches, right? And
Yep.
then just hold them up to the guy's face, like, "All right, you're good," or
That's how
"Sorry,
you can
I'm
tell if you can
offended."
say
Yeah.
it or not.
What's the weirdest thing that's happened at a show for you?
Weirdest thing that's happened for me. I mean, I think that whole situation where like the lady got kicked out and after the cops came, that's pretty weird. Um, I've had friends that like in the audience, this isn't my story, but like in the audience, somebody is like had a stroke or shit their pants or was like something like that. Oh, you know what actually happened that was weird? I did a charity benefit in Connecticut, Rowayton, in Connecticut, which is like hoity-toity. And it was like 600 like rich white people. And I did a joke about pedophiles and I got taken off stage. That's probably one of the weirdest ones.
Yeah,
Because it
well,
turned out that one of the guys that was in the community was like a rich pedophile that was like assaulting their kids. And I'm like, so I'm the problem.
oh
Take me
yeah,
off.
yeah.
And
It's
half the crowd was very upset that I got taken off stage, like the younger people. And the older people were like, yes, get her off stage.
it's yeah. I mean, obviously, you mentioning the rapist is worse than the rapist. You know,
Right, of course. That's
words,
how it is.
words,
I'm
man.
like, well, how would I even know that?
Yeah.
Why would the girl that went up before me did a pedophile joke and they loved it. So I honestly was not going to do it. And then when I saw her doing get a good reaction, I'm like, oh, I should be able to do this. It should be fine.
Do you have like I like to ask comedians this too. Do you have like a bailout joke or a go-to joke if it's a tough crowd and you're just trying to get them warmed up a little bit? Is there something? Do you have a go-to that you go back to, or is it?
I might just tell them like comedy's not for everyone and some of you shouldn't come back. That's usually my go-to. I don't have like a joke that's gonna like get like win them over, but usually something like that.
Is there one that you? Is there a joke or a story or whatever that you really like, but it just never lands? Because all of my comedian friends have this one thing that they think is the most funny shit they've ever heard, but it never gets a
Yeah, I
laugh.
mean, I've had jokes that like I really believe in and the crowd does not believe in it. I can't think off the top of my head what is a joke like that, but I've definitely had them. And I'll still like I'll always try and do it and figure out a way to get it to work. But sometimes I'll just do a joke for me, sure.
Well, long do you keep trying at one before you give it up?
Sometimes you just put it at the back of your head and you're like, hey, 2 years later, I could actually find an angle where it works. So I don't know. I don't necessarily give up on it. I might just like be like, okay, right now this is not working. So I have to get some space from it. And then sometimes you just go back to it and you're like, oh, that's actually how that joke should go.
Yeah, that's. I guess context matters a lot, and to that point, what do you think it is about? This is another question I like to ask people because it kind of it it, it always provides some insight into their process. But what is it about a joke that you think is funny to the? I know it's all different for all people, but for the average person, the funny joke that really lands. What do you think it is about that made them laugh?
For me, I like to talk about something that in a way that like I haven't heard it that particular perspective. So that to me is funny. Like even with the whole like P. Diddy situation, I was like, oh, what I like about that is that like black people have their own pedophile ring, because it's just been like white men dominating for decades. And that's like something I hadn't heard before, and I like that angle.
Yeah. Is that part of the reparations thing? Because I haven't really paid attention to that. I know California was going to vote on something, but
For what?
like,
The,
well, black people are finally getting credit for being pedophiles.
oh, I don't know. I haven't heard that.
We don't see a lot of black serial killers either, to be honest. It's
No, but I think there's a lot of black pedophiles. I think maybe not as many as, white pedophiles, but there was that one military guy that was black. He was picking people off. He was pretty good, getting good numbers.
Oh, the San Bernardino guy.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know if he was a serial killer; he's more of a terrorist. But who's to say which is which,
Really the
right?
difference.
Yeah. I mean, well, a serial killer is a sequence killer. They have a particular profile they go after and stalk them and kill them. I don't know. I don't want to
I don't
like.
think a guy that's just a serial killer and he's just killing whoever he wants.
Do they have serial killers that are just kind of random? Because that would be a hard guy to catch.
I think there was a guy, I talked about this on another podcast where a guy was like in New York City and he just traveled and killed a bunch of people, and I don't think they were even similar.
Hmm.
I feel like serial killers, if you want to be different, you have to probably do that.
Yeah.
Stand up.
Well, I mean, there's got to be like if you want to get away with it, certainly you wouldn't just pick the same. It wouldn't if you keep targeting the same
Right.
kind of people, you're going to get caught eventually. Um, if you were not a comedian, what would you be doing right now?
I'd probably have gone to law school.
Yeah.
Feel like I like the logic behind jokes and also arguments.
Mm,
So I could see how a lot of comics were attorneys. Like Greg Giraldo was
mm.
one. Because I think like the logic behind jokes and arguing is kind of similar.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I forgot about Geraldo. Where did you? So you went to undergrad before you started doing comedy, or were you doing it while you're? Were you?
No, I went to undergrad, and then when I graduated, I got a job as a crime victims advocate. And then I started doing stand up. I was going to go to law school. I was like studying for the LSAT, and
Mm.
then my mom took me to an open mic, and I kind of just fell in love with it. I do wonder if that first show I did, if I did terrible, if I would have still kept doing it. I might have like a normal life right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I
normal.
got
That's not.
married and had like two kids and hate
Yeah.
my husband, you know? Good old fashioned American
Be
dream.
addicted to Adderall, which maybe you still are. Who knows?
Or even taken it, but I do wonder how productive I would be on it.
Oh, well, I mean, look, it's not new. People think it's new. Housewives were taking black beauties in the 50s and 60s, and it turned into greenies in the 70s and 80s. This shit's been going on forever.
I took Stack or two in the 90s.
Mm.
And like that is just speed.
Yeah, I mean, what is it, like caffeine, this granulated caffeine or some bullshit? I don't know what it is.
I guess it's just literally speed.
We used to eat those
We're taking it
things.
and just like cleaning everything.
Yeah, when we were deployed, we would just, it was that and energy drinks constantly. I don't know how any of us survived any of
Yeah.
that stuff. Just dehydrated in the middle of the desert. It's 120 degrees outside, and I'm hopped up on caffeine, pupils dilated.
Oh, that's gotta be great.
It was yeah, it was fun. You put like a frozen liter water bottle in your back pocket and
Nice.
walk around for 20 minutes, and it's already melted. And you're like, okay, cool. This is hell. Great. Why the
Gross.
fuck are we here? Wasn't sweet.
Wow.
Yeah, wasn't sweet. I don't really know what we've been doing with our military the last, let's see, ever. Um, I guess since World War II, but it's not been great. So you're on tour right now.
I'm gonna be on tour in January. I'm doing some dates with Ari Shafir. I'm headlining some dates on my own. Side Splitters in February. I'm gonna be in Denver. January, I'm doing Cleveland on my own. But yeah, go check out my website, adrienneapalucci.com. Go watch The Dark Queen on Netflix. Share it with your friends. See if, the holidays are coming. See if you could upset your family at Christmas time or whatever other holidays there are. Kwanzaa,
That's a good
Hanukkah.
that's a good challenge though. Go watch The Dark Queen, learn the
With your
jokes.
family.
What's that?
With your family and
Yeah,
see who gets upset.
yes, sure. Like, hey, I found this. This lady is like
A bad woman.
she's a
A
terrible
bad
person.
woman.
She's
Worse than
basically
Hitler.
Hitler. Yeah. Well, what do you mean by worse though? Like, cause
I don't know. I guess I did jokes about the Middle East, and this lady was like, she said that you're so bad that Hitler would be embarrassed by you. I was like, well, I guess that's not hard that's got to be pretty hard to disappoint Hitler. So it was actually like, I wasn't upset by it.
no, well, if you're gonna be bad, be the worst, right?
Of course,
You don't want to be you don't want to be mid tier
go
in
all the
life.
way.
Yeah.
Go all the way.
Yeah, I'm looking at your schedule now. You start off in Pittsburgh.
I'm going to be in Pittsburgh with Ari. I'm doing a bunch of dates with Ari in Pittsburgh, Rhode Island, I think Atlanta.
Cleveland, Nashville. Oh, is that
Cleveland.
Zany's? Yeah, Zany's is dope.
Yeah.
Sweet
Yeah, I have a
Tampa.
bunch of dates coming up by myself, so go check out my website and come see me and Ari on the road. Ari's really like championed my career and really helped me. And
Did you guys meet at the club there?
we met at the stand,
Mm-hmm.
and and Louis C.K. directed it.
Oh,
So
cool.
like Louis and Ari helped me with this project, and they've both been super like helpful to me. So it's like just it's why you got to keep supporting white men.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, Louis is technically some kind of Mexican or some shit. I don't know, but or half of
Sure,
it.
he's also Hungarian.
Oh,
His dad is a Mexican Jew, I believe.
well, that's complicated. But I guess so is their president now.
I guess.
Yeah, the Mexican president is a
Well,
Jewish
guys,
woman now.
really interesting. I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
we live in some bizarre times, man. Um, yeah, didn't see that one coming. Well, look, thank you for coming today. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
We
thank you for
love
having me.
dark comedy. We love Ari and Louis, and anybody that comes out of that fucking pipeline usually is very funny and successful. So thank you for coming and talking about all this stuff.
Yeah,
Tell
thanks for
everybody
having me.
again where they can find you.
Oh, well, you can find me on Instagram, Adrienne Iapalucci. You can, but I really want you to go watch The Dark Queen on Netflix.
Okay, yeah, everybody go
Come see
watch The
me on
Dark Queen.
tour. Yeah, come
Um,
see me on tour.
and
Go get some merch. I have shirts with the Clintons that I met, and it says I met the Clintons and let's talk about
I
it.
saw
So
that.
go
Yeah,
buy
that's pretty
yourself a
funny.
shirt. Buy,
And let
buy
us
a
know when you
shirt.
come to Austin. We'll have you in the studio for our other show. It's a little bit crazier than this one.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Yeah, cool. I would
and
love
yeah,
that.
we'll do that soon. And thank you again for coming. I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, of course. I'll probably be there in January, so
Cool. Yeah, hit us up. We're here.
awesome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yes, ma'am. And thank you all for listening. This has been Citizen.